There's spoilers. I don't know. Like, spoilers. There's spoilers. Hey, besties. Hi. So, I am here because I want to talk about Sociopath by Patric. I found this book on an app called Libby, and I listened to the audiobook. But I needed a physical copy, so I did purchase a physical copy. I went in completely blind to the story, completely blind. Like, I knew that it was a memoir. And that's about it. That's all I knew. I'm gonna be real honest. That's all I know. I have no history in the medical field. I have no background. I have a therapist that I see regularly sometimes, but that is my extent of the medical field when I tell you about my opinions on this book. I loved it. I loved it. I don't know. I loved it. There's some discourse on the internet that she might not actually have a PhD. I did look into that after I read it. I don't know how one would lie about having a PhD, but that is a take. It's a take that some people have. I don't know if I like it, but again, that's me having an opinion on something that I know nothing about, so we're gonna move on from that. But in this book, she's not a reliable narrator. She's just not. She's not a reliable narrator. She tells you on every single page that she's a sociopath and that she's a liar. And it just intrigues me. It just intrigues me even more. It makes her more endearing to me. Maybe that says something about me as a person more than it does about her. But it, throughout the beginning of her story, watching her go from a young child to a teenager to a young adult who's in school, and watching these interactions throughout her whole life, you slowly watch her start to accept the diagnosis. It feels like, I don't know how she wrote this, but it feels like I'm reading her diary. And she's putting down every single thought she's ever had on paper. It just is endearing to me because I like the raw honesty that she exudes in this book. She's telling the reader that she's a liar. She's telling the reader about these bad things that she did through school and college, and reflecting on them in some ways, even though she herself says that she doesn't feel guilt. It's just very interesting. It's very intriguing. I really liked the end of the book. I liked how she tied it all together. Obviously, how does one end a memoir when you're still living your life? But it felt like it came to I accept myself kind of narrative. I really liked watching how her and David's relationship developed, because she went from using her mom as a compass for right and wrong, separating herself from her mom because she decides that her mom isn't a safe space anymore, to then using David as a compass for right and wrong, to then using herself as a compass for right and wrong. And that, to me, is what signifies adulthood. I have never related to something more of like using people outside of me to tell me what I'm doing is wrong, or tell me if what I'm doing is correct. And she goes through these periods as a kid being like, oh, why? Like, as a kid, she feels more shame because she's not normal, in not knowing what makes her different from other kids, her sister, her family. She feels things throughout this story, just different from how other people would feel things. And that, I think, is the most intriguing thing to me, because sociopaths have that word has such a heavy tone in our society, and to a certain extent it should, but had she had the mental health help as a kid, obviously, I don't know at what age you can start diagnosing kids with things like these, but like if she had a therapist or someone to help guide her in that way as a kid, could things go differently? And like in her situation, it's a extremely privileged situation, like being able to have the mental health help and being able to go to college and research that. As I mean, there are some touchy subjects where she's like diagnosing herself, but like eventually she does have a therapist, and I really love seeing how her mind works and being like, oh, she experiences like no shame or guilt. For the most part, she experiences like no shame and no guilt, and I simply cannot relate to that, but I relate to her and David's relationship, and her like getting in to it years in and being like, I want you to love me for me, not like who you want me to be, kind of thing. And I have never related to that more. I relate to that on such an extreme level, and watching her and listening to her slowly accept the parts of herself and then decide that like she deserves better. I relate to that as well. So there's a lot of opinions online about whether or not her PhD is real. Weird to me. Weird. I don't know. That's just weird. There's also a lot of opinions online about whether or not her stories are real. Again, this is a memoir to help people, I would assume. So, like, I don't really understand the point of lying about it. I think it's extremely vulnerable. Maybe not to her. Like, it doesn't affect her emotional well-being, like the author's emotional well-being. But, like, it's extremely vulnerable to be like, hey, I stole cars. Hey, I broke into people's houses. Hey, I did all these things. And this is why. And, like, here's what was going through my brain at the time. Here's how I was processing it. Here's what was going on in my brain. And I think it's interesting to see from an outsider's perspective of how, again, it feels like we're getting a look into her diary. It feels very vulnerable, even though, like, she probably doesn't care. It feels very real and honest and raw. And I am drawn towards things like that hugely. I love books where you're reading about other people's life experiences. I love when I get to close the book, end the book, pause the audio, and be like, ah, shit. My whole worldview has kind of shifted, and this is what I've learned, and this is what I've taken away from it, and that is what this book does. There is probably maybe a little bit of exaggeration, but like, again, it feels like we're reading her diary, and I really appreciated it because, I don't know, not only do you get insight into the reader's experience, or Patric's experience. I don't know why I said the reader's experience, but Patric's experience, you get to look into, your whole worldview has to shift. And your whole worldview has to shift on, like, she talks about going into a prison, and her uncle, I'm pretty sure it's her uncle, calling everyone in the prison a sociopath. They're like, and how they're murderers, and how they're this, and how they're like, that is the perception that we have, and it certainly can lead to that point. So it's an interesting, you ask yourself interesting questions like, oh, if these people had access to mental health care, would their lives have turned out any differently? Or there's a point in the story, I'm basically summarizing the whole book, but there's a point in the story where Patric and David, her husband, are in therapy together. They're doing couples therapy after they split up. And he's like, she's good. She's good. I just want her to be the good person that I know that she is. Hot take. Good is subjective. You can do everything right in someone's eyes, but the minute you pull back from them or set a boundary with them, guess what? You're not a good person in that person's eyes anymore. So, good, subjective. Also, the parts that Patric saw in her are equally there. Like, the good parts of her are there. The love that she has for him is there. The love that she has for her family is there. It's just shown in different ways. So he was trying to get her to show love and care the way that he showed love and care. Maybe I'm wrong. It put an extremely interesting perspective on mental health in the US. Her going to college and taking courses specifically for mental health, and being in the library and learning something new. And again, it just really felt like we were reading her diary. I, like, a little bit. Maybe we didn't. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. But I really related to her in, like, oh, I just want to be loved is who I am. All the good and all the bad. And I want someone to see me for all of me and love me anyway. And you really get to watch not only David come to that point of seeing all the good and all the bad and loving her anyway, but herself, accepting that about herself and seeing all the good and all the bad. It shifts your whole perspective, because we're so used to putting people in boxes. We're so used to being like, this is safe, this is not, this is good, this is bad, this is this, and this is not. And it really shifts your whole worldview, because then you look and you're like, oh, these things, this word that I thought was negative and that had a negative connotation behind it is like maybe not that bad, and maybe could be managed, and maybe could be helped in some way. But again, when it comes to that, at the same time, like, she went through these things and was doing all these things to cope while still being in therapy, and still had to be like, she still had to be the one that wanted to help herself. Like, that's the thing about this, is like she's not gonna live a healthy, sustainable lifestyle that isn't filled with crime, like breaking and entering and stealing people's cars. Again, good is subjective. Until she wants to find a different way to manage that, until she wants to see that shift, until she decides that she deserves better than that. And she does a little bit of exposure therapy, and it's interesting to hear about how that goes. And this is a memoir. This is, I don't know, I don't read memoirs. Memoirs are not my go-to, but boy did I love this guy. Oh my gosh, sorry, I read the back of it, but like, she talks about her experience in school, and how like the kids know that something is off, and she picks up on the fact that the other kids know that something is off, but she doesn't really know. Like, she knows that she's different from other kids, but she doesn't know how she's different from other kids. Let me tell you, okay, I will say that towards the end of this book, she is telling people about her diagnosis, like, straight off the bat, like, hey, I'm Patric, I'm a sociopath. And David brings up the fact that, like, hey, you're gonna tell people that, and other people are gonna use it to their advantage. And you can't, like, let them do that. And so that kind of gets tied in together. It's just, I don't know, bro. I just loved it. Like, the feeling like something is different. Like, she's not right. Like, I don't know. I just, like, I relate to parts of her story. And I think that is 100% okay to admit. Because guess what? She's a human being. If everyone wrote a book or a memoir, there are parts of that story that we would identify with, hopefully. I mean, I think it's very rare that I ever read a book and I don't identify with, like, an aspect of a character or a person, because we're all human. We're all coming from like, the human experience. So it was just a really beautiful read for me. And I don't know, we're all human. I guess the point of this is we're all human. We're gonna relate to different parts of different people, and it's okay to relate to other human beings and have their story shift your perspective on things. I don't know, bro. I just like it. It's just good. It's just really good. Okay. She really does, like her and her diagnosis are besties. And it kind of feels like towards the end she starts to identify, like that's the only part of her we're really talking about here, but I think that is balanced out more towards the end. But there was a part of me listening to this book where I was like, is that all we're learning about here is your diagnosis? But like, I mean, all I talk about is my feelings and my emotions, so that not being able to feel nothing, like that would play a huge role. Anywho, read it, don't read it. I had a good time. If you've read it, let me know in the comments below. I love to chat with you about it. Like and subscribe. Bye, guys.